Detroit Lions preseason recap. Standout players after All-22 rewatch. When it comes to preseason football, expectations can often lead to disappointment, or at the very least, confusion. For Detroit Lions fans eagerly anticipating a dominant performance reminiscent of their thrilling 2025 season, the team's preseason opener against the Los Angeles Chargers likely felt like a letdown. But here's the thing. Preseason games are an entirely different beast. With nearly 30 of their top players sitting out, this wasn't exactly the powerhouse squad we've grown accustomed to seeing. So, what did we learn from rewatching the All-22 film? Let's dive in. On this week's episode of the podcast, the crew takes a deep look at everything that unfolded during the Lions' first preseason matchup. Sure, the game might not have been easy on the eyes, but if you're feeling frustrated, just think back to last year's preseason opener. Sometimes, these early contests serve as a humbling reminder that building a championship-caliber team is a process, and not always a pretty one. One of the hottest topics of discussion revolved around the Lions' backup quarterback situation. Both Kyle Allen and Hendon Hooker took the field, but their performances left much to be desired. Was it as bad as it seemed on the surface? Or were there subtle signs of progress that might give fans hope moving forward? This is the part most people miss. Sometimes growth isn't obvious right away. It's hidden in the details, waiting for a closer inspection. Later in the episode, we introduce candidates for the first ever Big Buford T-Pain Player of the Game Award. And guess what? Our live audience gets to decide who takes home the honor. Who do you think deserves the accolade? Cast your vote in the comments below. The conversation doesn't stop there. We also break down standout performances along the offensive line, shining a spotlight on players like Ahmed Hassanein and TeSlaa. Positional battles are heating up, and our rewatch of the All-22 footage revealed some intriguing insights about which linemen are stepping up and making a case for themselves. If you've ever wondered how coaches evaluate talent behind the scenes, this segment will give you a fascinating glimpse into that world. Ready to hear more? You can catch this week's episode on your favorite podcast platform or stream it directly via the Spotify player embedded in the article. Prefer video content? Head over to YouTube or Twitch for the full replay, complete with bonus material. In addition to dissecting the game itself, we share our thoughts on the recent Alex Anzalone contract settlement, key takeaways from Inside the Den, and even poke a little fun at the Dallas Cowboys and Micah Parsons. Because, well, why not? But now, I'll leave you with this thought-provoking question. Should fans be concerned about the Lions' depth at certain positions? Or is it too early to hit the panic button? Share your thoughts in the comments. We'd love to hear whether you're optimistic or skeptical about the team's trajectory. Detroit Lions defensive breakdown versus Chargers film review insights. So Lions game film analysis, evaluating Detroit's defensive players against the Chargers. After a loss, film review sessions can be particularly challenging, even during the preseason. While the final score of Thursday night's Hall of Fame game against the Los Angeles Chargers is inconsequential, the manner in which the Lions suffered a 34-7 defeat certainly raises important questions. As I watched the game unfold, I found myself pondering various players, performances, and the decisions made during the match. My goal in reviewing the All-22 footage was to seek clarity on these queries. This analysis will adopt a slightly different format than usual, concentrating on players who made notable impressions during the game and determining whether those initial assessments withstand closer examination. We will categorize our observations into offense and defense, starting with the defensive players. Ennis Rakestraw, the second-year cornerback, caught my attention during the game, particularly when he was beaten on a deep route by Chargers rookie Keandre Lambert-Smith. However, a more thorough analysis reveals that Rakestraw was struggling long before that moment. First drive, Rakestraw lined up as the left cornerback. The Chargers motioned their tight end pre-snap, leaving him isolated with no receivers. Rakestraw made the correct read and shot through the B-gap on a handoff, presenting an opportunity for a tackle for loss, TFL. But his lackluster tackle attempt fell short. He failed to engage his arms and control his momentum. It became evident that a recent chest injury, sustained during the Lions' first practice, was affecting his performance. A few plays later, the Chargers employed a similar formation, and Rakestraw again made the right read, but arrived at the point of attack only after Grant Stewart had already tackled the ball carrier in the backfield. Oh, coverage breakdown? Rakestraw was in press man coverage but neglected to use his arms at the line of scrimmage. This oversight allowed Lambert Smith, a fifth-round rookie, to gain outside leverage. Notably, Rakestraw's safety help was positioned high and inside, suggesting that he was likely expected to use outside leverage to guide the route toward his safety support. This concept is frequently seen in practice. Rakestraw lost 2 steps in the ensuing foot race within 10 yards, and was somewhat fortunate that Trey Lance's throw was off target, allowing safety Lauren Strickland to intervene. To add to his woes, Rakestraw received a penalty for illegal hands to the face, marking a challenging night for him. Rock Ya-Sin. In contrast to Rakestraw, Ya-Sin, who is vying for the number 3 outside cornerback position, arguably emerged as the Lions' standout player in this game. He made 2 impressive solo tackles in the open field, one of which prevented a touchdown, albeit temporarily. Lance avoided targeting Ya-Sin, largely due to his effective use of physicality at the line and proactive control of his leverage and assignments. He exhibited the poise of a seasoned veteran competing against less experienced players. Throughout his NFL career, Ya-Sin has faced challenges with penalties. However, he demonstrated improved discipline during training camp, which translated well onto the field against the Chargers. His only misstep was a poor outside contain block on the second kick return. Overall, his stock is on the rise. Zach Cunningham. Despite having a strong training camp, veteran linebacker Zach Cunningham's performance against the Chargers was disappointing. From the very first drive, he struggled, notably running past 2 potential tackles. On the play preceding the Chargers' missed field goal, even after Lance was forced to scramble to the right, Cunningham found himself too deep and caught in no man's land in coverage. This was particularly evident as Rakestraw executed his best play of the night, effectively covering 2 receivers due to Cunningham and safety Lorenz Strickland's misalignment. Like many of the linebackers, with Grant Stewart being a notable exception, Cunningham appeared a step slower in game situations compared to his practice performances. Whether it was hesitating too long before attacking an edge run or being slightly tentative in covering a tight end releasing from the line, Cunningham and the other linebackers faced more challenges than anticipated. Anthony Pittman. Entering his 7th NFL season in Detroit, with a brief stint in Jacksonville, Pittman has been a reliable special teams player. However, his performance as an off-ball linebacker has been inconsistent throughout his preseasons and limited regular season appearances. It was frustrating to see him lack instincts during Thursday's game. I noted 5 separate instances where Pittman misread run defense assignments, making incorrect choices regarding gaps, angles, and containment lanes. To add to his struggles, he also missed a tackle opportunity on Jack Fox's first punt. Trevor Nowaski. Nowaski, another linebacker who had a tough outing, particularly struggled in coverage. A prime example occurred on the first play of the Chargers' second drive. Initially, he recognized his responsibility to cover running back Jarrett Patterson leaking out to his side. However, he inexplicably dropped back, leaving ample space for Lance to connect with Patterson in the flat. This was not an isolated incident. Nowaski frequently overreacted to the offense, losing track of his assignment. Had he adhered to the defensive design, the outcome would have been more favorable. There is a delicate balance between attempting to make a play and abandoning one's post, and Nowaski found himself on the wrong side of that line too often. Additionally, he incurred 2 encroachment penalties, although he was not the sole offender on the second one. On a positive note, during the Stewart sack, Nowaski executed perfect coverage on fullback Scott Matlock as he drifted over the middle as an outlet receiver. He also made a commendable block on the opening kickoff. The Lawrence Strickland, in a competitive race for the number 4 safety position, Strickland's performance against the Chargers did not bolster his case. Known more for his hitting and run-stopping abilities, his struggles to keep up with targets in the passing game were evident. While he's expected to be a significant asset against the run, that was not the case in Canton. Strickland failed to wrap up on several occasions, most notably during the Chargers' second touchdown play, which followed Kyle Allen's first interception. Strickland, along with Cunningham, filled the correct gap in time to make a stop at the 1-yard line, but merely glanced off the ball carrier instead of making a solid tackle. Ian Kennelly, the undrafted rookie from Grand Valley State, is also in the mix for the safety position alongside Strickland. Kennelly stood out among the competitors, which also include 7th-round rookie Dan Jackson and Maurice Norris, who had a quiet night aside from a missed tackle. Although Kennelly did miss a tackle, he delivered the most impactful hit and drop of the night for either team. He demonstrated quick recognition of the offense and showcased anticipation skills in coverage. Additionally, he excelled in a punt coverage rep, which is crucial for depth safeties in Detroit. Dan Jackson. Similar to Kennelly, Jackson experienced a variety of action during the game. He excelled when playing in the box, where he displayed impressive, quick reactions on short passes. While he needs to improve his ability to avoid blocks, Jackson effectively trusted his instincts and made plays without losing sight of the broader game context. Overall, it was a solid debut for the rookie. Ahmed Hassanein. Consistent with his practice performances, Hassanein brought energy and intensity to every play. I was eager to see how he would fare against unfamiliar blockers in his pass rush. Unfortunately, the same technical deficiencies that have been evident in practice were apparent against the Chargers. If his initial power move fails, his lack of counter techniques becomes glaringly obvious. Nevertheless, the enthusiastic rookie defensive end did achieve a couple of pass rush wins by exploding off the line and preventing blockers from engaging him. His run defense was commendable, showcasing his ability to anchor and establish a strong edge, which the Lions coaching staff appreciates. He effectively maintained his focus on the point of attack without losing containment. His aggressive movements allowed him to shed blocks, and he demonstrated to Patterson that he could finish tackles. DiCaprio Bootle. Bootle has struggled throughout training camp, with only one standout drill last Monday, so it was not surprising to see him falter against the Chargers. A clear example of this was the touchdown catch and run by Lambert Smith, where Bootle opened his hips incorrectly, surrendered inside leverage, and lunged at feet that were no longer there. Chris Smith and Pat O'Connor. I'm combining the two interior linemen in this analysis because they performed best when working together. Smith had an impressive play during the Chargers' third series, recognizing that O'Connor was pushing his blocker deeper inside. He adeptly peeled off to his right, creating chaos in the process. Smith was solid in resisting the interior run blocking. O'Connor was more active in the pass rush, utilizing his long arms to create space for inside moves. I appreciated how he kept his shoulders clean while shooting the gap. Although his run defense anchor could improve, he held his own alongside Smith. His quickness off the snap was particularly notable compared to fellow defensive tackle Raekwon Williams, who also had a decent night. Nate Lynn, the young defensive end, adapted well to the game, showcasing skills we had observed in practice. His long arm rush was effective at times, but what truly stood out was his ability to vary his approach. Lynn displayed excellent awareness and hustle on a run play shortly after Craig Reynolds' touchdown. He effectively held the edge against left tackle Corey Stewart, then quickly disengaged to make a solid open field tackle as the runner cut back. Lynn emerged as the Lions' most effective pass rusher of the night, being the only edge rusher who could consistently win with a move and maintain a strong path to the quarterback. Although he did not record any sacks or quarterback hits, Lynn successfully forced Lance to move off his mark on several occasions. His stock is definitely on the rise. Lions versus Chargers. Hall of Fame game recap, player evaluations. Turnovers derail Lions in Hall of Fame game against Chargers. A closer look at Detroit's roster. Canton, Ohio. The preseason is primarily about development rather than results. This is a crucial point to keep in mind, especially considering that the performance we witnessed from the Detroit Lions on Thursday night would likely not meet retail standards. In the annual Hall of Fame game, the Lions faced off against the Los Angeles Chargers and suffered a significant defeat. Losing 34-7, the Lions struggled with ball security, committing 5 turnovers on a night when they found it challenging to establish any sustained offensive drives. To kick things off, the main takeaway from this game is that we turned the ball over 5 times and didn't manage to create any turnovers ourselves. Lions head coach Dan Campbell stated candidly, "That's a tough situation for any team. When you put your defense in such a difficult position, it's hard to succeed. This is part of the process. We're eager to review the tape, analyze the performances, learn from our mistakes, and grow as a team. That's what this is all about." The coaching staff in Detroit now has valuable game footage to analyze, complementing their observations from practice. This is precisely the purpose of these preseason games. So, which players improved their standing, and who may have hurt their chances? Let's break it down. Stock up edge Ahmed Hassanein, coming out of Boise State. The consensus on Hassanein was that he relied more on effort than on physical attributes. He may not be the largest, longest, or fastest player, but he certainly makes the most of his abilities. His capacity to learn quickly was evident on Thursday night. Hassanein made several impressive plays, nearly securing his first sack, only to see Chargers quarterback Trey Lance evade him. He demonstrated an ability to toss aside offensive linemen and shed blockers with relative ease. His skill set is expanding rapidly, likely due to his ongoing learning process in the sport. What truly stands out about Hassanein is his genuine appreciation for being part of the team. His gratitude is palpable and often overlooked. He has a deep passion for football and a strong sense of pride in being a Lion, which is evident in every conversation. "I always call my dad at the start of the game, and it's surreal to think I have the NFL logo on my gear," Hassanein shared. "Before each game, I call him, and it feels just like my days at Boise State, where we would pray together. I also call my wife, and we pray together. It's hard to believe. I FaceTimed him, and he could see the NFL logo, and I said, 'Dad, we made it. We're here.' It's unbelievable to me. I'm incredibly thankful to be here. I just want to keep improving and prove my worth to this team." He is certainly on the right path. W.R. Isaac TeSlaa. TeSlaa topped the Lions in receiving yards on Thursday night, which may not be a significant achievement, but he capitalized on his chances. His first catch in an NFL game, albeit in a loose sense, was a 24-yard gain on a play-action crosser, where he finished the play by lowering his shoulder and delivering a solid hit to the nearest defensive back. The coaching staff must have appreciated that effort. On the following play, quarterback Kyle Allen targeted him again, resulting in a 22-yard gain. Although those were his only 2 receptions of the night, he showcased the qualities that made him a sought-after player for this coaching staff. Strong hands, impressive speed, and a solid physique. A commendable debut for him. There was definitely a lot of emotion on that first catch, TeSlaa reflected. It felt good to lower my shoulder on that defensive back. I definitely got pumped up about that. Football is an emotional game, but you have to manage those emotions. When making plays, you can't let the highs get too high or the lows too low. His most notable play of the night might have been during a special teams rep, where he sprinted over 40 yards downfield effortlessly. It appeared that the Charger assigned to block him underestimated his speed. His speed is real, and it's here to stay. He's beginning to look like a player who will establish a role for himself sooner rather than later. Internal center. LB Grant Stewart and CB Rock Yassin. Amid the youthful talent on display, a couple of veterans made their presence felt. Both Stewart and Yassin demonstrated their worth during the game. Aside from a fumble on the opening kickoff return, Stewart was active around the ball and showcased impressive closing speed when he sacked Lance in the first half. He has the potential to be a valuable depth player and a standout on special teams. Yassin was aggressive in the run defense, highlighted by a remarkable open field tackle on rookie Omarion Hampton, which prevented a touchdown. He adds quality depth to the Lions' cornerback position. These additions may not have received much attention, but Campbell is pleased to have them on the roster. They will be essential as the season progresses. I expect that level of performance from both of those guys, Campbell noted. It's encouraging to see. They both work incredibly hard, giving their all. They play with intensity, practice diligently, and learn quickly. They don't repeat mistakes. Those are the types of players you want on your team. Stock down the quarterbacks. Kyle Allen and Hendon Hooker combined for 3 interceptions during the game. These turnovers severely hindered the offense's ability to find a rhythm or sustain drives, making for a frustrating viewing experience. To provide some context, one of Allen's interceptions occurred on a route where TeSlaa was bumped off his pass due to questionable contact, preventing him from making a play on the ball. Another interception was a desperate jump ball from Hooker to Dominic Lovett with just 2 minutes remaining, down by 27 points, in an attempt to make something happen. While he gave Lovett a chance, the ball was ultimately taken away by Miles Purchase, capping off a dismal night. In simple terms, these quarterbacks must perform better. Allen's first interception was a dreadful throw, arguably his worst of the summer thus far, especially for a player who has otherwise shown promise. However, it's important to remember that it's still early in the preseason. As for Hooker, he spent the game with the third-string offense, while Allen took the first snaps with the second team. This is likely not a cause for concern, as the Lions rotate quarterbacks during practice. Hooker is expected to start in the next preseason game against the Atlanta Falcons, but his performance on this night was also lackluster. He attempted 6 passes, completing 3 for just 18 yards. He seemed rushed and opted to run instead of staying in the pocket. Hooker never appeared at ease. For 2 players who had shown promise in practice, this collective quarterback performance did not reflect that potential. CB Ennis Rakestraw Jr. and linebacker Trevor Nowaski. Rakestraw, a second-year cornerback, has had a somewhat unusual start to the preseason. His coaches and teammates have praised his efforts this summer. He began training camp, but missed several practices due to a chest contusion. After returning to action last Saturday, he was fit enough to start on Thursday, but he allowed a 28-yard reception to Keandre Lambert-Smith and was penalized for illegal hands to the face. It's better for him to learn from these moments now. Nowaski, who was a starter out of necessity last year, was flagged for offsides twice and appeared somewhat stiff in coverage. I anticipate both of these players will bounce back and play a role on the team this season. CB DiCaprio Boodle. Boodle had a challenging night. He was badly beaten on a slant route by Lambert-Smith for a touchdown. Additionally, he was penalized for defensive pass interference, which cost the Lions 27 yards and set the Chargers up with a 1st and goal from the 6-yard line. It was a tough evening for the former Charger. Lingering thoughts. Losing the turnover battle 5-0 is a recipe for disaster. The scoreboard reflects that reality. Campbell was understandably frustrated. Special teams play was subpar, which is unusual for a unit led by Dave Phipp. O.L. Giovanni Manu showed promise in the limited action I observed. He played extensively in the second half. I'd like to see him be more aggressive, particularly in finishing blocks. But I was encouraged by what I saw. Tight end Jacoby Keeney-James muffed a punt, resulting in a turnover. For an undrafted free agent trying to secure a spot on the team, this was not the ideal start. Ian Kennelly has a powerful hit. At times, he resembles a linebacker. Although he missed an open field tackle, I believe he's off to a better start than Dan Jackson. Tight end, fullback, Zach Horton executed a solid block on Craig Reynolds' 13-yard run that nearly resulted in a touchdown. This was a skill he was known for coming out of Indiana. Lovett managed to create separation at times, but left fans wanting more. He dropped a pass on his first target and had another taken from him on his last attempt. In between, he displayed flashes of his quickness and had opportunities in the return game. Campbell mentioned that he will learn from this experience. I thought second-year UDFA edge Nate Lynn was quite active during the game. He appeared to generate several pressures. If he can continue to build on this performance, he may secure a spot on the practice squad. Dan Skipper was seen in a walking boot in the locker room, indicating he is dealing with an ankle injury. He has been the primary left tackle, with Taylor Decker sidelined, but Decker is expected to return soon. Top photo, Jung-Fu Han, USA Today Network via Images. Colton Pouncey is a staff writer for The Athletic, covering the Detroit Lions. He previously reported on Michigan State football and basketball, and covered sports for the Tennessean in Nashville before joining The Athletic. Follow Colton on Twitter @Colton_Pouncey.